Hello students! Okay, let's solve this question. On a math test, Sophia correctly answered 36 out of 50 questions. What decimal represents the fraction on the test that Sophia answered correctly? Okay, and we're gonna use the grid. Let's use the strategy of cubes and let's start identifying important information. Sophia answered correctly 36 out of 50 questions. What decimal represents the fraction? What decimal represents the fraction? Sophia answered correctly. Okay, so also I'm going to underline. They want to know what she answered correctly. And this number here is what she answered correctly. So I did circle or underline, then I have to box the question. I'm looking for the decimal that represents the fraction that Sophia answered correctly. Okay, so here I see that we're gonna have a fraction, decimal, so I'm gonna be bringing my chart. And the other thing that I'm gonna do, because they talk about decimal, I can bring a 100 grid that is very useful to represent decimals and fractions. Okay, so I'm going to be using this fraction, decimal, and percent chart. And I'm going to get started by finding the fraction. I'm going to put it in blue. And I'm going to go back to my numbers. And the fraction that she answered correctly, I'm going to put it in this different color. 36 out of 50 were correct. So I'm going to write that number in this fraction symbol. 36 out of 50. And I'm noticing something. This 50 looks like a very friendly numbers. I'm going to tell you why. Remember that when we work with 100 grid, that is the denominator, because the total pieces we have here is 100. Okay, good. Then depending on how many of these little guys here, so I'm going to just put a little dot to represent the fraction. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far. Remember this, guys? And now, because this is the denominator, this number here must land on this place value. So this is the place value for the ones. This is the place value for the tenths. And this is the place value like this one for the hundredths. So what it means is that this 5 must land here. And empty spaces, we fill them in with zeros. So the whole idea here is having a denominator of 100 is going to help us big time. So now here on this section, for the fraction, I'm going to rewrite my fraction. Remember how we can simplify our fractions, or we can rewrite them to our convenience. So one denominator that really is going to help me is having a denominator of 100. And I notice that 50 is a very friendly number because how can I go from 50 to 100? I will have to repeat 50 two times. 50 twice or 50 plus 50 is the same as 100. So here we should have times 2. Okay, and if we multiply by 2 on the denominator to get an equivalent fraction, we should multiply by 2 in here. And I can multiply on the side. So I'm going to multiply on the side 36 times 2. Can you help me to multiply? 2 times 6, 12. 2 and I carry 1. 3 times 2, 6. Plus 1, 7. So this should be 72 over 100. Why do I like this one? Because I can represent this fraction, the fraction 72 over 100 in this grid because the total is 100, but I want to highlight 72 out of this. And I'm going to erase this information here. Remember, I gave you this information only to remind you how place value helps us. Okay, so let's see how the fraction 72 out of 100, which is equivalent the same as 36 over 50, looks like. So we have to highlight 7 rows. So far 10, 20 hundredths, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72. Great, this is how 72 out of 100 looks like. And also, by using place value, we can rewrite it. We know that we must land on what place value? On the hundredths, because this is the denominator. This is the reason why we rewrote our denominator to be 100. So we can use place value. So right here, this place value will be the ones. I'm gonna write it right here, guys. These are the ones. Now here are the tenths. And here we have the hundredths. And because I have 100 in my denominator, this is the place value where I need to land. What number is gonna land here? This 72. So the last digit gets here and then goes one before and then goes like this. And that is my answer. Great. Okay, guys. Anyway, I'm gonna be doing another strategy so we can see what if I couldn't rewrite my denominator to 100, because then those have to be friendly numbers like 25, because 25 times 4 gives me 100, or 50 times 2, that gives me 100, or 10, because 10 times 10 gives me 100, or 4, because 4 times 25 gives me this 100. But what if I don't find an easy and friendly number to work with? Okay, so in that case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide. But before we divide, I'm gonna record this number into the decimal section because we already figured this number, 0.72. There. And now I'm gonna take away the grid, guys, so we can do the division. Okay, so what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna be using this spacing here, guys, and we're gonna do our work with division, like normal division. So I think rewriting into the denominator of 100 is really friendlier. Okay, but like we said, what if you couldn't do that? Okay, so this is method 1. All this with the visuals is gonna be method 1, and I'm gonna put some squiggles around. Okay, so I added these squiggles here. Okay, now I want to get started by simplifying my fraction. Remember that in this case, we made it bigger to find a denominator of 100 and be able to use place value. Now, since I'm going to divide, I would like to simplify my fraction. So I'm going to see if I can divide this by 2 and divide this by 2. So I can get an equivalent fraction, one that has the same value, but with friendlier numbers. So here I'm going to have 50 divided by 2 on the denominator, that's a 25. And if I cut 36 into 2, that's going to give me 18. Awesome. So method 2 will be by dividing using long division. When we have this fraction here, guys, we can use the saying that is called needle. It's just a way to remember that this is our long division symbol, so it goes here. Now this is the numerator, and the numerator goes inside. So I'm gonna put an 18 inside. And the 25 is the denominator, and that one goes outside. This one is supposed to say needle, guys. Okay, this is a 25. So now we're gonna divide. Is 25 times something that can give me a 1? No, this is too small. So now I'm gonna get the 2 digits up to here. Does 25 fits into 18? It doesn't. So we can keep dividing. We can add a decimal point on the top. And that is not hit anymore, but we are a 0. So now my answer needs to be on top of the 0. So now this number all complete will be a 180. On the side, I'm going to multiply 25 times 5. I like to multiply by 5 because that can help me to see if I need to go higher or lower. 5 times 5, 25. 5 and we carry 2. 5 times 2, 10. Plus 2, that's a 12. So 5 will be, 5 times 25 will be 125. And that's kind of far from 180. So I'm going to try by 7. Can you help me to multiply? 7 times 5, 35. 5 and we carry 3. 7 times 2, 14. Plus 3, 17. This one's pretty close. So we're going to put a 7 right here. And now we're going to do our subtraction. 180 minus 175. And I'm just going to look at the big numbers. If I have 180 and I take away 175, what is the difference? In other words, if I have 175, how many more do I need to get to 180? Yes, the answer is only 5 units. So that's basically our answer. Great. Now, because we already have a decimal point, we can add another 0 here. And that we need to bring it down. That's going to be 0 here. Now 25 times what is going to give us 50? Yes, that will be times 2. Because 25 times 2, that's going to be a 50. So our answer in either way is 0.72. Now if you have one of these grids when you will be testing, we have to choose that this is positive, this is a 0, this is a 7, and this is a 2. So method 1, rewriting to 100 by picturing how it looks on a 100 grid, that's really easy. Or if you prefer to do the operation, remembering that the numerator goes inside and the denominator goes outside the division symbol, then you can do that. Now you have 2 different ways to do the work. Thank you.